You are 17 years old, standing in a high school welding booth in rural Texas, grinding a bevel on a piece of scrap pipe with an angle grinder that weighs 6 pounds and a hood that cost your father $29. The first time you flash your eyes, you will lie awake at 2 in the morning with what feels like sand under both eyelids and a headache that lasts 48 hours. 23 years later, a man you will never meet signs a contract for $512,000 in a single calendar year doing welding work that fewer than 400 people in the United States are qualified to perform. And his name does not appear in a single Bureau of Labor Statistics report. The Bells lists the median annual wage for welders, cutters, solderers, and brazers at $51,140. The 90th percentile ceiling is $72,970. Every public number about this trade is missing the top floor entirely. This is every level of welding in America, and if you stay until the final minute you will see the $500,000 tier above pipeliner, above inspector, above shop foreman, that almost nobody outside the union halls and oilfield contractors has ever heard exist. Level 1. The helper. You are 17. There are roughly 457,000 welders working in the United States today, and the bottom 10% earn under $38,130 a year. The starting wage at the 10th percentile is $17.71 an hour. ZipRecruiter pegs a welding helper at $17.73. You chip slag. You hold leads. You drag bottles. You tack plates while a journeyman runs the actual weld and tells you to stop watching and start grinding. You enroll in a 16-week community college welding program. Dallas College charges $5,940 for the full associate degree in welding. You sit for an American Welding Society Sense Level 1 assessment at $20 per module plus $15 to graduate. Then comes the practical that moves you off helper pay, the Oz certified welder test on a flat plate, roughly $500. You fail it the first time on a bend test. You pass it on the second attempt. The shop foreman moves you onto a stinger of your own. Texas alone employs 52,820 welders, 1 in 8 in the country. Level 2. The shop welder. You are 22, on second shift at a structural fabrication yard outside Houston. The median welder in America earns just over $51,000 a year, and you earn slightly less. The 75th percentile hourly rate is $28.80, and that is the ceiling unless you leave the building. Your shop runs production welds to print. Root pass. Bill. Cap. Bend test the coupon. Move on. You learn Oz D1. 1. The structural welding code that governs nearly every steel building going up in the country. You sit the D1.1 endorsement exam at $445 as a member, $540 as a non-member. You pass it. You stack flux cord dual shield certifications on top. A recruiter from Newport News Shipbuilding in Virginia slides into your inbox. They offer $35 to $45 an hour for an experienced welder with a $10,000 sign-on bonus. Huntington Ingalls in Pascagoula, Mississippi posts $21.50 to $28.50 for entry level on a destroyer hull that will take 7 years to launch. Bath Iron Works in Maine runs $28 an hour. Huntington Ingalls spends roughly $110 million a year on workforce development across all locations. The recruiter asks if you can travel. You realize the paycheck plateaus at $25 an hour unless you leave the shop and hit the road. You quit on a Friday. You drive to a refinery turnaround in Port Arthur on Monday. Level 3. The road welder. You are 26. You live out of a 24-foot trailer parked behind a pilot truck stop. The refinery shutdown runs 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, double time after 40 hours and Sunday premium on top. The Cincinnati Ironworker scale this year is $35.37 an hour. The New Jersey Boilermaker journeyman rate is $35.03. The SAW per diem in your county is $178 a day untaxed, and the year's high cost rate is $225. With per diem stacked on top of overtime, the math becomes a different number entirely than what is printed on the rate sheet. You walk up to take the test. The 6G pipe coupon, fixed at a 45-degree angle, all positions welded in a single continuous pass. The first-time fail rate is 40 to 50%. You watch 3 welders in a row blow the test. One fails on the bend. One has porosity in the cap. One has lack of fusion you can see with your naked eye. You pull your hood. You burn the root with an E6010 downhill, 2 passes per quadrant. The bevel goes glass smooth, the cap stacks like quarters. The inspector pulls the bend coupon, looks at it, says nothing, and tags it. You passed. Level 4. The pipeliner. UR32, a Lincoln SA200 welding machine, is strapped into the bed of an F350 800 miles from home on the Mountain Valley Pipeline right-of-way in West Virginia. United Association Local 798 Journeyman Scale on the 2025-2026 National Pipeline Agreement is $57.85 an hour in the southern tier, $58.89 in the northern tier. The fringe benefit stack on top runs $35.95 an hour. Welder per diem is $165 a day, untaxed. The 798 union book itself cost you $2,000 and the test fee was $250. To even sit for the test, you logged 3,000 helper hours and 500 journeyman pipe gang hours, and you carried 5 journeyman recommendations in a stamped envelope. There are roughly 3,400 welders in this local, and less than 1% of all U.S. welders ever make it onto a 798 mainline crew. The forum number for monthly take-home on a 6-day, 10-hour schedule with rig rate and per diem runs around $32,000. The aggregate annual figure with full season work runs near $199,000. Your rig was a $50,000 build. Some pipeliners have $100,000 in their welding rig before they roll a single tire. The Mountain Valley Pipeline cost $9.6 billion by November of 2024, up from a $3.5 billion estimate in 2014. UA Local 798 has welded mainline pipe on Dakota Access at $3.78 billion, on the Trans-Alaska Pipeline at $8 billion in 1977, on Keystone, on the Atlantic Coast Project before it was canceled, on nearly every major American gas and oil mainline since 1949. Level 5. The inspector. You are 38. Your back is going. You stop welding and start signing off on welds. You spend $3,500 all in on the Oz Certified Welding Inspector credential. The exam fee runs $1,070 for members, $1,285 for non-members, plus the training course, plus the code books. The exam is 3 parts. Passing requires 72% on every part. The first-time pass rate clusters at 25 to 40%. You fail the practical the first time. You sit it again 90 days later. You pass. You earn between $80,000 and $120,000 a year now, and senior CWIs with Level 3 non-destructive examination credentials clear $150,000. You walk job sites with a 10-power magnifier and a fillet gauge. You write non-conformance reports on welders you came up with on the line. They call you a clipboard. You take the joke. And then one evening at a job trailer in Oklahoma, a contractor mentions a man who works 6 months a year on offshore platforms in the Gulf and clears more in those 6 months than you have ever made in 12. You ask his name. You write it down. Level 6. The hidden tier. The saturation welder diver. You are 34. And you went a different way years ago. You spent $27,500 at the Divers Institute of Technology in Seattle for a 7-month commercial diving program, with total cost including gear and the dive medical at $39,233. You logged 200 field days as a tender, 100 working dives, 10 bell runs, and 30 days of saturation support before the Association of Diving Contractors International would card you for the bell. The chamber is 20 feet long, 7 feet across, with 6 bunks. And you live inside it for 28 days at a time. The last 5 days, you do not move. You decompress. The hot water suit dumps 4 to 5 kilograms of sweat per dive. You breathe heliox, and your voice comes back to surface sounding like a cartoon. The Gulf of Mexico day rate runs $1,000 to $1,500 a day, including depth pay, and depth pay alone is $1 to $4 per foot per day. A single 28-day saturation grosses $30,000 to $60,000. A 10-year veteran who lands 180 active days a year at $1,500 a day clears $270,000. The top-tier saturation welder divers working on deepwater Gulf platforms, North Sea contracts, and Asia-Pacific pipeline tie-ins clear $500,000 in their best years. There are roughly 336 saturation divers in the entire United States, out of 3,300 commercial divers nationwide. Of every 20 graduates from the Divers Institute, roughly 1 is still doing this work 5 years later. You are 47. You retired 3 years ago. The house in Louisiana is paid off. The boat is paid off. You think about the high school welding booth in Texas, the burned eyes at 2 in the morning, the man at the refinery turnaround who told you to stop watching and start grinding. You think about the kid the next town over who just enrolled in a community college welding program last month. He is 17. He has never heard the word saturation. He has never heard your name. The pipe stays in the ground. The platform stays on the seabed. Your name does not. Almost nobody talks about this tier. That is the only reason it still pays what it pays.